Hi everybody. Whoops, sorry. It's Sharon again, and I'm just coming back to show you a little bit more of these new pastels that I got at the garage sale. I've been hemming and hawing over starting to use them, and the reason being is because pastel artists normally don't keep their pastels in a whole piece. They don't do it at all, actually, not normally, always. And the reason for that is because these long sticks of pastel make it really difficult to get in fine areas and to maneuver around, basically. So what I was thinking of doing is doing this on video so that you can see what we go through when we buy new pastels, and then how they're used after we go through this process. It's kind of heart-wrenching at first, especially when something looks as pretty as this. If you saw my other video the other day from the estate sale, I bought these pastels brand new for $175, and normally they retail for over $800. You can get them on sale occasionally, like at Blix or Amazon for like $500, $480, but that's about it. And another thing I wanted to show you, this is part of the reason, let me turn another light on here. This is part of the reason I'm not real fond of this brand of pastel. If you notice, let me grab this one here. If you notice, I don't know if you can see real close maybe in the light, and excuse my messy table. See the shininess on the edge of that pastel? That shininess is like a coating that makes it really hard to use the pastel, to get the chalk to come off. So, like if I show you like this orange one here, if I can get it to focus, I'm using my phone today, and I'm not used to using it for video. This one doesn't have that shininess to it. So if I rub my finger over it, you can see how orange it gets, right? So, but this purple one has this shiny coating to it. So if I rub my finger over it, there's nothing there. It's still orange. See the difference? Soft pastels should rub off, and I'm rubbing super hard and still nothing. I can try a different color. Here's a darker one, for instance. This one right here is also shiny. See the sheen on it right there? When I rub over it, I probably will get very little. I'm on the edge, so there might be a line on my finger from where I went over the edge, but yep, there's the line. But when I do it, stay off the edge and go to the edge of my finger, there's still barely any color there, just what was on the edge. It's really frustrating to me. Like this one too. That one has a little color, but it bothers me when I'm working. They just don't let go of their color very easily. And then what we do with pastels, we don't use them, I'll just use the back of this pamphlet. We don't grab them like this and start our work. So you can see how hard it is on the side to get color to come off. But if you use the top, it comes off very well. We don't use them like that. In order to use a pastel, what we do is, I've got to set my phone down somehow. I'm going to try to set it right in here and jam it in here like a tripod. Whoops, will it work? There we go. What we do is we take them. We usually peel the paper back, which is really hard on Rembrandts, and I hate that. They put so much glue on their paper that it tears it up, and then you lose the number of your pastel. Like, see right here's the number of the pastel. So when I use this pastel up, if I wanted to replace this color because it's one I might use a lot, I want to have that number so that I know which color it was, and then I can reorder it. Or the name Permanent Red Light. Although Permanent Red Light, if you look into this pamphlet here, like down here, it says phthalo green. All of these 4 colors that are in this set are phthalo green. They're just different values of phthalo green. So if I use that, excuse me, that color, Permanent Red Light, there's probably a few Permanent Red Lights that I would have to look at to decide which one I wanted. Like here's one. This is Permanent Red Light 3705. Whoops. Trying to focus it. There we go. 3705. Come on, phone. There we go. 3705, and then it says B, and then there's 3 pluses. This one also says 3705B. Now, are they the exact same color? You know what? They might be. That's weird. I've never seen that before. Okay, here's another one. This is a Permanent Red Light, also 3707B. And the pluses, I believe, have to do with light fastness. I'm not sure on these. Everything's in a different language. It doesn't say. I'm going to have to look it up. Some of them have, oh no, it's dark, medium, light. That's right. So these would be darks. I believe it only goes up to 3 plus. That would be dark. Then here's one right here. This one is scarlet. Certainly doesn't look scarlet, does it? But it's a light value of the same scarlet color. So it is A and has 2 pluses for the value. It's lower in value. The higher the value, the deeper the color. Whoops, that goes there and this goes over here. But anyway, so now what I need to do with these is I need to rip off the paper, and then I need to break the pastel apart. A lot of people use a X-Acto knife. If I could find mine in this mess somewhere. Where is it? Where's my X-Acto knife? Oh, here it is. Okay, what we do, ouch, is stab ourselves. We take the pastels, and then we kind of score them so that when we decide to break off a piece, we just go like this. There, it broke, and then this is the piece of the pastel that we would use to work with. Now, this one might be a little small. I just did a small piece to show you, but I'd normally break it maybe about there so that it's a little bit longer, like right over here. But then I would take this piece of pastel and I can use it for fine work. I can rub it. We use them on their sides, not on their tips like a pencil. Always on their sides. If you want to have a fine line, you can use that edge, but it is going to wear down, so you'd have to keep making a new edge with it. Anyway, so I just wanted to show you also my big storage box. This thing is a moose. This I have written fragile all over it so that my cleaning lady won't be rough with it and break my pastels. She was just here yesterday, bless her heart, I love her. And she was busy, and I'm a slob in my studio, and one of my brand new pastels here, my great American Artworks pastel, I found like this, which really sucks. It's kind of rendered useless. There's a couple little pieces there that I can use, but it was brand new. I don't know, I think I spent about 10 bucks on it, just on that one little piece of chalk. So it's not an inexpensive hobby to get into, or art medium to get into. Pastels can really cost a lot. And the reason is that you can't just, it's not like buying paint where you can go out to the store and buy 6 tubes of paint, a cool and warm blue, cool and warm red, cool and warm yellow, and you can make virtually any color except for the shade white under the rainbow. With pastels, you need a lot of different pastels. So this is my excess storage box. It has this little thing here. This is a Degas box. It's got a little thing here, and it's like a tank. I don't use it except to store the rest of my pastels. If I had space in the studio, I would probably leave this open, and then I wouldn't use my Pochades box at all. But right now, that's what I use. Now, these come with little boxes inside of it. I've already taken the lid. Excuse me, I had a hole in my sock. I just grabbed a holy one this morning. I just grabbed one of the lids off of one of the boxes right now. But so when I open this up, it opens up like this. It's huge. It's so heavy. You would not want to take this out in the field with you because you'd be struggling. It's about 25 pounds with all my pastels in it. These little things open up like this, and then you can pull these boxes out, which are hard for me to do with one hand, but there, that's how they pull out. And then you take the lids off, and then you can put them back. So here's one of my boxes. And these are my excess pastels that I have. All of my greens. I might have some greens in one of the other boxes, but I don't know what's in here. Oh, these are some reds and yellows. So these are where I store my extras. And you can see that I saved some. I saved my wrappers on some. I finally got wise. Some of my older ones that I had bought, like these. These are Jack Richeson's. These are a great quality soft pastel to use to get into painting with pastel. I really like those. The Rembrandts I don't like as much, but if you were going to need a hard pastel, instead of getting the Rembrandts, I would recommend getting, excuse me, got to get up here off the floor. I would recommend you get, oops, avalanche, something like these Prismacolor New Pastels. This is my box of 96. I thought it was 72. It's going to be later in my video. That's what it's going to say, but it's 96. I dropped these on the floor recently, and so they got all busted up, more busted than normal. But you can see I even break these up into small pieces to use them. And I leave most of my hard pastels. These are still considered soft, but they are harder, so we use them in our first layer of work. And then as we build layers up and use up the tooth of the paper, then we go to softer pastels to add layers on top of it. So I might use something like a Jack Richardson, which is a little bit softer, but not too soft. And then I could go to something like, a Great American Artworks, which is even softer yet. And then after that, I might use something like a Schminke pastel. I know I have some Schminke in here. Here's a Schminke. And these are soft like butter. These things are very soft. And then there's the Diane Townsend pastels. These are her troches. They actually have a little bit of pumice in them, which help release and grip the paper a little better when you're using up that tooth. These are fine pastels. They're beautiful. You can see I just touched it and how much color has come off on my fingers. But if you squeeze it too hard, it will crumble in your hands. So anyway, this is how I store my excess pastels. And then when I run out in my pochade box, I refill from this box. And then I put these in the ends just so that when I'm storing things and moving the box around, they're not rolling around as far. I've got something to stop them a little bit. So that's how I do that. And then I will move on and I'll show you my pochade box. Here's a lot of the rest of my greens that I have. You can see here how they're all broken up. Here's one that has half of a pastel left. It's a schminke pastel. These are very soft. I love these pastels. They're like one of my favorite. But I kept the wrapper on it so that I would remember that it was a light green with 5 stars on value, medium value, I guess. They all do them a little different. These are one of my favorite pastels, which is what is broken up above there. This one is Great American Artworks. These are a little less expensive, I think, than schminke. No, maybe they're more because they're a little bit heftier. The schminke are small, very narrow, like a normal piece of chalk size. But these are heftier, and I love these. They're not too soft. They're not as soft as schminke, but they're really, really nice and buttery to work with. These are some Richardson pastels. They're nice and big. They're a nice soft pastel to start with. I really like these a lot. They are also made by, well, Unison is also made by this company, Jack Richardson. And I don't think I have any Unison pastels in here. Unison pastels are very expensive. They're probably one of the most expensive pastels I buy. That and Ludwig pastels, which I think I only have a couple of. I just buy a couple to try them out. Now, when you're using this box, you can put this like this and leave it in your studio and then open all the rest of the boxes. But they all pretty much look like this, so I'm not going to pull them all open. So that's where I keep my stash of extra pastels. And then here is the pochade box I use. Oops, I just ran over that purple pastel into my carpet. This is the pochade box I use, and I want to get a new one. Gotta undo that so that I can open it. There we go. And let me tighten this so that it doesn't close on my fingers. There we go. This is the back of it, so that when I'm out in the field doing plein air painting, on the bottom of the box is a place for the tripod to attach to. So it'll sit on a tripod, and then this back piece becomes the easel. And let me unscrew the back. There we go. And then these slide up and down. It goes up and down pretty big, as you can see. So that's that. And it came with a little plastic sheet that went over the top, which was a piece of crap. Within the first week of owning this box, I accidentally dropped it on the floor, and it shattered into a bunch of pieces. So I went to a local foam rubber outlet, and I bought some different thicknesses of foam rubber. This is almost like memory foam. And then I had these little pieces too. So this is the box that I usually work out of for my pastels. And I keep them color-coded by value and by cool intensity, whether they're cool or warm. Or temperature, I'm sorry, whether they're cool or warm, and intensity, whether they're light or deep. So as you can see, I keep all my neutrals here, and then I have some warm yellows and my cool yellows. Then I go into cool reds, or purples and reds, and then I get into the warmer red tones, which turn to orange. Then I have my cool lavenders or purples and cool pinks, then warm pinks, cool blues into warm blues, and the same with the greens, cool greens into warm greens. So if you set up your boxes like this, most people do. Everyone has their own version of how they do it. When I first did it, I had it so screwed up, my pastel teacher kind of said, this is a mess, you need to redo it. So I worked on it, and this is the way I've left it. A lot of the boxes have like 6 slots, or they may be cut across here this way and have 8 or whatever. But this is the, what is this called? This is the Sienna box. And it's done, I'm sorry that didn't focus. It's done okay for me. And I like it all right, except that one of my screws doesn't stay tightened, so I have to take a screwdriver with me when I go out into the field. As you saw, that my easel flipped over. Oh, it also has this cool thing on the back, which is really nice. Oops, sorry, that probably hurt your ears. It's a shelf, so you can put it on the side, and then when you're using certain pastel colors, you can set them on the side here so that you remember which colors you're using. Or if you were to paint with this box, they have like a watercolor setup and an oil color, or an oil setup or acrylic. Then you can set your brushes to hang over the edges on here, which is really nice. So if they're wet, you can set them off the edge, and they will not mess up your shelf. This is a really nice little box, and it was probably one of the most inexpensive that I've gotten. I can't remember how much it was, maybe $200. The one I want is by Heilman, and it's going to cost me about $350. And at the time, I could not afford it because I had bought this box. This is a handcrafted box that I use for oil painting and acrylic. So I will do that one in another video because it is an awesome little box. And this is an extender on the box so that I can put larger canvases in it. I will just show you a little bit of it. I'm sorry for this close-up. There we go. Everything's magnetized. This is an extra, that's an extra lid that comes off. I ordered it extra so that I could put 9x12s in here. But it holds 8x10s, it holds a bunch of different sizes. So the actual box, whoops, what's going on? Something's in here. There it goes. So the actual box looks like this small little thing. And it's got drawers and another shelf and everything. It's filled right now, so it's probably about 10 pounds full. But anyway, I'm going to go over this Pochade box in another video for you. So anyway, that's my pastel setup, and you see that we do break up our pastels into these small pieces. And you can see, like, this is one of my Great Americans. It's square. You learn your pastels really well. Also, when you're doing a pastel painting, you start with the harder pastels like these up here, and then you would go to, as you're adding layers onto your pastel, you would go to softer pastels and softer pastels. And you just kind of learn by feel. And after a while, you'll know which ones are hard and which are soft. This is hard. This is a Prismacolor New pastel, NU pastel, and they come in a number of sizes of boxes. I just recently dropped my box of 72, so I have lots of little shards right now. That was kind of heartbreaking, but because it's not a cheap investment. But anyway, so that's it on the pastels, and I will do a little more instruction when I'm painting a pastel for you. And now I've got to put all this stuff away. And when I do my next pastel video, I will go over exactly which pastels I use and how I use them and when I use them and why. And then I will also do another video for you on my Pochade box that I use for my oil and acrylic painting. So that's it. Have a great day, everybody.